Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Fig Noob to Fig Master YouTube channel, your one-stop shop for everything Figma. Today, we're going to be focusing on shapes. We're going to be diving deep into how to make shapes on the page, all the different options that Figma presents, and once you do place a shape on the page, how you can edit or change that. So let's dive into it. The rectangle tool right here is one of the multiple shape tools that we have. We have rectangle, line, arrow, ellipse, polygon, and star. We're going to talk about all of these, but the main ones that you're going to use as a designer and Figma user is rectangles and lines. So let's start out with rectangles. They're super easy to put on the page. All you do is click, hold, and drag. As soon as you let go, that shape is now on the page. Right now, it is a rectangle because that's what I had selected, but you'll notice there's a couple things going on. You have the dimensions of the actual rectangle. If you want to change them, you can come over to the right in this layout section, and I don't like how it's a decimal right now, so I can change it to rounding it, so 1625, enter, and then 882. And now it's an even number. You'll also notice there are these little round circles in the corners. If I grab one of those circles and I click it and hold it and I drag in, it actually rounds out the corners. But if I want to do an individual corner instead of just all the corners at once, you can go over to the appearance section and click on this individual corners button. It may look like this to start. You'll click on this individual corners button over here, and once it's open, you'll see the right top, right bottom, left top. You can actually click it and drag out, and you'll notice that right top corner is actually curling, and then you can drag it back, and it's good. But again, like all of these fields, you can just click on it and type, and it'll do it, instead of just clicking and dragging. You'll notice that right here it says 0 for the corner radius, but as soon as I change it to something other than 0, it says mixed. That's just telling you that at some point in here, one of your corners is different than all the other ones. So we're going to leave it back at 0. You can also change the appearance with the opacity tool right here. If I want this rectangle to actually not be visible, I can click the opacity and I can actually drag it down to 0. So now you don't see it at all. But when I pull it out, back up to 100, you can see it fully. Similar to the text, you have the X and Y coordinates. If I want to position it at 0 and 0, I can click it and it'll auto-locate me there. Similarly, you can use the rotation tool with shapes, just like you can with text. And you can also use the flipping rotation tool along with the inverting tool, which you don't really see because it's a solid shape color rectangle, but you can use them. And you are able to move it around by clicking and holding. So on your mouse, if you click and hold, you can drag it and move it wherever you want. Now, the final thing I want to talk about are these 4 little corners. When you click and hold on it, you can drag your box in and out, and you can make it as short, as square, as tall as you want. However you want it to be, that's how you can drag it. But if you want to keep a certain ratio, let's see, I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to do 700 by 700. Now we have a perfect square. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this lock aspect ratio button. When I click on that, I no longer can drag it out of that ratio. It is always going to be a 1-to-1 ratio, so that regardless of how big or small I make it, what direction I turn it, it is always going to be a perfect square. You can also do this for not perfect squares. So if I set it to a 700 by 400 box, now I can lock the aspect ratio, and no matter how big I get, it is always going to be that aspect ratio with a rectangle instead of a perfect square. Finally, like I said in my past video, we have the Layers tab. In the Layers tab, you see we have rectangle 1, and if I add text, we have hello world. Now, the text that I actually put on the page is the title. So I want to change that just to text, and I want to change this to rectangle. Now I have these two, and I want to place this gray background behind the text, but I don't want to move the text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock the text in place, and I'm going to move this rectangle down and behind the text and resize it so it fits. Now I can see that they are perfectly aligned, and I don't know if you saw it there, but when I drag it, there's a red line that appears, and those are alignment tools to help you figure out how to better align your project. So right now you can see I have a vertical and a horizontal red line, which means that my box is perfectly in the center of the text. This becomes really, really nice when you're working with a prototype and you're trying to make sure that everything lines up perfectly. So now that I know that it is lined up perfectly, I can unlock my text, and I can see that the text and rectangle are both right here. And when I hover over them in layers, I can see I'm on the text versus I'm on the rectangle. Now, you can reorder these. So if I wanted to put the rectangle actually on top of the text and hide the text, you can click it and you can drag it. And when you see that when it's dragging, there's a little black line that appears. That shows that it is currently under the text box, but I can move it up to the top, let go, and now it is on top of the text box and the text is gone. You can reorder this as much as you want, but eventually, when we get into more complex projects, you'll learn why it is important to title things properly, because you will have a lot of different layers here. So it'll be hard to remember exactly where to put things. But for now, this works for us. Adding a line is very similar to adding a rectangle. All you gotta do is click on this little shape tool and click on line. With a line, you can click and drag, just like everything else. Click and drag, and as soon as you let go, you have a line on the page. It is a 1 pixel tall black line, but if I want to be a little thicker, you can click on this line stroke weight and you can increase it. So I want it to be bigger. Now it is very large, and I can drag it all the way back to 0 where it is invisible. Another fun thing that you can do, depending on the scenario that you're in, is actually clicking on this, which is the end tool. So now on the end of my line, I can either round it, I can square it, or I can put arrows. I can also use this to flip it, so the arrow is now on either side. Something else that's kind of a nice tool to have is when you drag around, it can be hard to get it to be flat. Right now you can see that it is not perfectly flat, and it's actually at 7 degrees. So I can actually take it and click on this and click Shift, and it will auto align it back to 0. I can put it up to here, and I can click Shift, and it'll always auto align me to the closest degree marker between 0, 45, and 90. So if I want it to be perfectly flat, that's the best way to go. You grab it, you press Shift, and you drag up or down. And it'll always put you in a good degree number. When adding a sphere, you click that same one and click Ellipse. Now you can drag out an ellipse and make it into a oval, but you can also click and hold and press Shift on your keyboard and drag out, and it'll always create a perfect circle. Like we've talked about, Shift is the key that is used when trying to make things even. So the length and the height are always the same when you press Shift, but you have to first click and hold, don't let go, then press Shift and drag. If you want to rotate, you can go right to the outside of that right corner here and spin. But if I let go, if I press shift, it moves it along a ratio of that 45 degrees, keeping it nice and in the same spot. You can see that we have two different layers on our screen. Now I want to delete both of them, but I don't want to have to click, delete. I want to delete them all at once. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and hold and drag all the way across everything on my screen. As soon as I let go, everything within this big blue rectangle is going to get selected. So whether I have text, rectangles, lines, arrows, spheres, everything that my rectangle covered is going to be highlighted, and all you got to do is click delete. Everything disappears. If you're interested in downloading Figma, go to the link in my bio and try it for yourself for free. And if you liked this video and want to see more videos just like this, make sure to like and subscribe to the Fig Noob to Fig Master YouTube channel. See you next time.